Lori, thank you so much. And thank you, Tamar and Andrew and Brianne and all the members of USU Productions and all the students out there, as well as the community members. In order to give this August inauguration of a talk series the right flavor, I need to get in costume. Okay, see? It's all about this. Okay. It works. Now I'm going to switch. Hello? You can hear me? Okay, excellent. Good evening and welcome. The topic tonight, of course, is Eureka. And you're going to learn what that means, and hopefully you're going to discover a little bit about yourself. Okay, anyone know where that's from? Besides California? It's Sacramento, it's the capital. It is a stained glass window depicting the Great Seal of the state of California. And you see the motto of California right there. Eureka, we are the Eureka State. 31 stars because we were the 31st state allowed into the Union. The goddess Minerva, Athena, who sprung from the head of Zeus, or Jupiter, and that is because we were never a territory. We went from being a place that was Mexican, it was part of Mexico, to becoming straight a state after the war of the Mexican-American War and the subsequent treaty. Then you have the boats on what is either the river, Sacramento River, or the Bay of San Francisco, and of course the Minor, which is where the word Eureka probably emanates. But you also have the grizzly bear, and what you can't see is a stalk of wheat, because you probably don't realize we grew a ton of wheat here in the 1850s and 60s, but it's not happening much these days. And then there are grapes as well. This is the California that you live and study in. And this is the California that has provided you the opportunity to discover what you want to do with your lives. This is the Eureka State. Now, where do we get that phrase, though? Eureka is really the Greek Eureka. Eureka means I have discovered it. And it is ancient Greek. It's the first person singular, perfect active indicative of the verb heurisco. And that's what I teach. So, but it's more than that. This hat is annoying me. Excuse me. It's more than that, because it is, in fact, Eureka. What did that do? I have no idea. There. Excuse me. Eureka, exactly. Archimedes said it. Anyone know who Archimedes was? He was the greatest ancient scientist and mathematician. He said, I found it, according to Vitruvius, because he found the displacement of his body in the bathtub, and he was so excited by this discovery of the difference in mass once he got into the bathtub and the water ran out, that he got up out of the bathtub and ran naked through the streets of Syracuse screaming, I found it, Eureka, Eureka. And that's what I'm hoping you will do, except for the nakedness part. You will discover what you want to do with your lives, and you will go ahead and do it. Now, he did amazing things besides discovering that. He helped the ruler of Syracuse discover that a craftsman had gypped him in the amount of gold in his gold crown. And he discovered the value of pi, which you might regret in your math classes. And he manufactured the claw. The claw was this device that he could stretch out over the water and lift up Roman ships and dump them, sprinkling the men out of them. And that's just like Buzz Lightyear there being grabbed by the claw, which you can barely see. It was Archimedes who developed that. He was the man who invented it. The Romans, however, wanted to capture him in order to find out more about his science, but unfortunately the soldier killed him before they got to the bottom of his science. Many hundreds of years later, people started reading his manuscripts, and they understood more about spheres and the measurement of such objects, and that is where we really get the basis of modern mathematical discoveries. Now, another part of Greek wisdom is the wisdom that comes from philosophy, not just mathematics and science. And the greatest teacher of all was Socrates. And Socrates was not a professional teacher. He didn't earn a living doing it. He was a stonemason. He probably helped build some of those ruins that people visit in Athens these days. He was a normal citizen craftsman, but he went around town and he asked young people annoying questions. And one of those young people was a man named Euthydemus, a young man. He was also known as Hokalos because he was really good looking. And he said, Euthydemus, tell me, have you ever gone to Delphi? Delphi is this gorgeous place in central Greece, not too far from Athens. And Euthydemus consequently says, yes, twice. Then did you notice somewhere on the temple the inscription, know yourself, gnothi sauton? I did. And did you pay no heed to the inscription, or did you attend to it and try to consider who you were? Indeed, I did not, because I felt sure that I knew that already, for I could hardly know anything else if I didn't even know myself. Euthydemus thinks he's got it all figured out. He's about 18 years old, and he is famous in Athens for owning a bunch of books and claiming that he can teach himself by reading books. What Socrates tells him is you need a teacher. You need someone to help you. And that's, of course, why so many of you are in school, because you want to learn from people who can help you see the light. So Socrates goes off on this long, rather boring analogy with horses. And you can read it for yourself about when you choose horses, does a teenager really seem to know himself, who knows his own name merely, or he who, like people buying horses, who do not think that they know the horse that they want to know until they have ascertained whether he is tractable or unruly, whether he is strong or weak, swift or slow, and how he is as to other points which are serviceable or disadvantageous in the use of a horse, so he, you notice you fell asleep, right? And Euthydemus, he does this to all his students. He keeps creating these analogies and trying to beat you with words till you submit. And the students always do, basically. And he continues, having ascertained with regard to himself how he is adapted for the service of mankind, knows his own abilities. It appears to me, says Euthydemus, I must confess, that he who does not know his own abilities does not know himself. And the point Socrates is trying to make is that Euthydemus actually doesn't know his own abilities. And that's what Socrates wants to teach him. And that's hopefully what you will have as an experience in college and beyond. Socrates says to him, isn't it evident that men enjoy a great number of blessings in consequence of knowing themselves and incur a great number of evils through being deceived in themselves? For they who know themselves know what is suitable for them and distinguish between what they can do and what they can't. His point is, you shouldn't fool yourself. You need to figure out what it is that makes you happy in terms of what you can do best, and consequently, you will lead a happier life, a more fortunate life. From my own experience, I tried to know myself by thinking about what I don't know, which usually involves technology, like right now. I really did have a career in Silicon Valley at one point as a tester. They would give me software, and I would perpetually not know what to do. And I was invaluable to this company, actually, because I was a contractor as a grad student, and I would sit down with the manual and say, I have no idea how to use this product. And that was something I knew about myself. I am scared of technology, partially because of my parents, but at the same time, I appreciate it. And I appreciate people who can use it. And that's what you have to figure out about yourself. You have to figure it out. But the question is how? How do you figure out what to do with yourself? And a very wise philosopher who is not Socrates said, "Do you not know that in the race, all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize." In order to get the prize, as St. Paul says, you've got to run like you really have a purpose and you want to win. These are students who are running on the stadium at Delphi. Delphi was a sanctuary of Apollo where people met every few years to have games like at Olympia. And today you can do that. Stadium is not a place, it's a distance, 600 feet. This man ran the race. Do you remember him from the Olympics? Stephen Kiprotich of Uganda? He was supposed to lose, but he surpassed the Kenyan runners at the 38th kilometer, and he made the finish line first. Lots of us here tonight were not the front runners because for whatever reason, we weren't expected to be the winners. But if you keep working hard like Kiprotich, you too can succeed. My theory is you have to just keep the pace. You have to not give up. You have to set your goals and figure out what you do best, and then by all means do it. But the thing is that it takes steps. And by saying keep the pace, what I mean is you have to keep in mind 4 different elements. And these 4 elements are ones that we will spell out. And because this is getting too academic, I am in fact going to start a game with you. And I hope you enjoy it. And Andrew's going to help me with it. The first letter is P. What do you think P fills out for? If you're going to win, what do you think you need? Persistence, perseverance, patience, passion. I heard it down here. Passion, passion. There was another passion. Juan, well done. I did not tell Juan. Perseverance is true, but passion is what lights you up. It's what makes you want to do something even when it's really hard. Now, why I do what I do is not because of any magic, it's because of my family. And so I show you these strangely quaint old photos because people like Sister Mary Ephraim, and you have to love Catholic education because they give the nuns both women's and men's names, Sister Mary Ephraim. She inspired my older sister, Connie, who was actually the second. Vicky was the first. And then Angela, and there's me, unhappy because that's an itchy dress. And Connie, you can see on her graduation day from 8th grade, is happy, though she regrets that hairdo today when I showed her the photo. And she and my older sister, Vicky, were extremely important for me because they showed me that academic excellence really, really matter. My sister Angela, however, showed me that perseverance in the sense of not giving up is extraordinarily important. And she also was an amazing athlete, which I learned to try to emulate, but never quite as successfully. And then that's me standing next to my little brothers at Christmas time. Do you see what I have on my shirt? It's not what you expect. It's the Playboy bunny. Now, why do I have this? Because we went to the beach, and I said I wanted a shirt of the Easter Bunny. And my next lesson is, my mother, God bless her, she tried to talk me out of it, and I refused. I was persistent, and finally she gave in. She was bored by the argument, and she let me wear that for 2.5 years. I went around the neighborhood. I went to the store wearing that. She had an amazing sense of humor. She could walk with a straight face into a grocery store with me wearing that. That's my mom, and that's my dad, who was an extraordinary person. He loved all 8 of us. He was always there talking to us on the weekends. And that's the baby, Octavia. He also had a sense of humor. He named her number 8. Because she was. One thing that they taught us by virtue of being taught by their parents was that education deeply mattered. My dad's mother went to Berkeley when it looked like this at the turn of the century. But because she met my grandfather in Merced, and she thought he was so handsome, she decided to leave Berkeley and go to the California State Normal School at San Jose in order to get her teaching credential because she wanted to get married sooner. I don't recommend that automatically, but what I would say is that you have to know her instinct was she was a teacher, and that is what most of us became in our family. My grandfather, however, was a rancher, and what my father instilled in us was that this land, this Central Valley, really is precious. Chowchilla, which people make fun of now, was a town that my grandmother turned the first spade of earth for. It was the gateway to 108,000 acres of opportunity for a colony. It was a place where people were going to build lives. And my mother married my dad because she saw the courthouse in Merced and thought, okay, I can leave LA for that. Seriously. And my passion is finally my immediate family, my son Will, and my husband Bill Scubin, who is not here tonight because he is teaching. He teaches grad classes, and he could not miss his class because that's how much he respects his graduate students, that he couldn't bail out on them. I show you this because my great-grandfather was an immigrant from that incredibly poor village, Curraclare in West Ireland, where they basically starved to death. His mother finally died, and he came to the United States. And what would have blown his mind is that I returned to that country, and I was invited to be a scholar at a country at a university, Trinity in Dublin, where he wasn't even allowed to go because he was the wrong religion. And you see, what America gave all of our families was opportunity. And that's the miracle of this place. What I discovered in high school was that I loved Latin. And that's what I teach now at Fresno State, along with Greek. I did 4 years of it with a nun, with another girl-boy named Sister Mary Wilfred Yore. And she used to take us to the Getty Museum every year, and we would look at all the beautiful antiquities, and then she would take us to the beach in full nun habit, and we would sit on the beach and eat a picnic. It was amazing. Nuns do swim in those habits. Okay. But why I love Rome so much is I studied there as an undergraduate, and I'm going to return to this theme. And I also saw a movie called I Predatori dell'Arca Perduta, but it was not really that movie that you know. You know the movie by Raiders of the Lost Ark. First time I ever saw it was in Italian. I didn't understand 2/3 of it. But I thought that archaeology was cool. And I love ancient monuments because when I walk through them, it allows me to imagine what was going on. And that's really what I love doing with the students in my classes. I like to imagine why the past matters nowadays. And I studied in Florence, where I learned about beautiful art and architecture and beautiful literature written in the Italian language, like Boccaccio's Decameron. But most importantly, when I got back, I went to my classes at Stanford, and I met a woman named Sabina McCormick who would come into class like this. She would swoop in like this, and her hair would be like this. She'd say, "Good morning." And the first day we saw her in Byzantine history class, there were only 5 of us, and we looked at each other like, what is this? She was a brand new professor, and she came and lit a fire under all of us. All 5 of us got a doctorate in ancient studies because of her. She spoke with this amazing knowledge, and she was really, in many respects, a salvation, a form of soteria for us, because she showed us that the life of the mind matters. It matters so deeply that you should have weird piles of books all over your house. And you should wake up with a stack of books next to your bed. And you should tape vocabulary lists of Quechua on your bathroom mirror, because you want to understand the Incas so badly that you will learn their language, even while you brush your teeth. That was Sabina McCormick. And when I was studying in Ireland, I learned that she died. And most miraculously, she died in her garden. And she taught us that the garden, of course, is the place of paradise in all sorts of literature, most importantly, St. Augustine, with whom I read the text with Sabina in Latin, because she would order giant books in Latin and say, you know, look at chapter 5. And we're like, oh my God. So that was Sabina. She was a genius, but she was extremely humane, and she loved her students. And that's how I discovered that I love things like reading Greek, and I love reading it with a precision that, however, makes this gibberish over here that is written the way I text messages on my telephone with no spaces, that you should be able to transcribe it and translate it. And that's what I think is important, that we make things accessible and available to everybody. But it was Sabina who taught me that what I should really look into is the existence of Jews in ancient Rome in the 1st century AD. And to look at an author, Josephus, who had never really been examined before in my field of classics because he was Jewish. And she said, you can do this dissertation, and lots of people said it is an inappropriate topic, but I was so fascinated by the fact that the Romans had conquered Jerusalem and all of the land of Judea and the north of there as well. And they brought back all these objects to Rome, which are depicted on the Arch of Titus. And then they built an amazing arena. And a scholar discovered 3 years before I finished my dissertation that that was built with the booty from the war. That was built with Jewish money. The equivalent of the amount of money that it took to build the Save Mart Center, if you put the money into modern dollars. They took the temple money of Jerusalem and built the greatest arena the world has ever seen. They also built an extraordinary temple of peace, ironically named Peace, because they thought it was peace to conquer and basically destroy places into submission. And this author, Josephus, the Jewish historian whose texts I read in great depth, and whose text I will continue to read in great depth in the future because I have to do another volume, he explains about this temple in depth. And I once saw a picture of this glass. It's the bottom of a drinking glass that was smooshed into a wall on in a catacomb marking a grave. And there's only one in existence, though archaeologists found 2 of them. And what I realized was, by looking at this and mapping it to the archaeologist's plan of the Temple of Peace, I was able to prove that the objects from Jerusalem, such as the menorah and the other golden vessels were still in Rome in the 4th century, and that it was not a myth that the Vandals or the Goths and then the Vandals had possession of those objects in late antiquity, the period that Sabina taught me. All of this is a long way of saying to you guys, listen to your professor. Sometimes they tell you something really important, and they can lead you down a path that you weren't thinking of until they said it. And you take that ball and you run with it, like these guys, like the baseball players. You have to ask yourself, what would make you excited enough to jump in a big dog pile like that? To raise a trophy like Derek Carr? You all have that opportunity if you grab it, if you choose to be that excited about what you're doing, you have to ask yourself, what is your passion? Does this count? I love Fresno State ice cream. Oh, my Lord. I'd argue if you make it. If you're in the College of Ag and you make that stuff and you make these wonderful watermelon animals. I teach Greek in the building where there is constant cooking going on, and I want to go eat those cinnamon rolls instead of teach Greek. We also have passionate artists on this campus, like the creative writer, Alex Espinoza, whose new novel, The 5 Acts of Diego León, is coming out this April. You have amazing artists to learn from on this campus. You have clubs you can join, like this one in industrial tech, where you can look into new forms of energy with a club, such as Robert Seja and Abhijit Supreme have done. Or you can get so involved in your studies of geology, like Rachel up here, and Kirsty and Shelby. You can go out there and look at all the formations and give them all those long Greek terms and love it and carry a large pack. And you can also have fun like Shelby here, different Shelby. It must be the name for geologists. Shelby Fredrickson is pointing you at California poppies, because while you're looking for formations in Yosemite, you should definitely stop and look at how gorgeous it is here. This is a beautiful place. And she's showing it to you. Go see it. It's covered in snow right now, unfortunately. Okay, I put this in because I thought it was so funny. Her violin is on fire. She doesn't go here, by the way. She's a random pick off the web. But she plays so darn well, her violin explodes. I took piano for 9 years. Not great. And that's the thing. You know, truthfully, I would have loved being a musician, specifically singing, but I'm not a great singer. So, what I love is singing with Anna Hammer in the chorale when I get a chance. I did it once. She is the best director I've ever seen. I sang with the symphonic chorus at Stanford. She is amazing, and so are the other singers. We have a remarkable marching band, and we have a remarkable orchestra. All of these opportunities for exploring your art are available at Fresno State. Moving on, next letter, more t-shirts. A. I heard it. It was Aramaeus. Achievement, front row. Sorry, you probably said it back there. We should have gotten like 15 t-shirts. Aspiration is also great, and it's part of the UHS. Okay, this slide has too many words. These are my key pieces of advice about classes and studying. You need to choose a major based on your passion and your skills. Like Socrates said, you've got to do what you do best, and you've got to love it. And so I may love music, but I was not a born music major. You need to figure out what you are best at. And it was my mom who figured out the Latin. As a matter of fact, my high school didn't offer Latin. And she went to the principal and she said, my daughter's going to be a 9th grader. She needs to learn Latin. And as a joke, they started it. And the reason they let it continue was because Sister Mary Wilford Yore, who was this tall, she was very short, she taught it in her spare time. She was retired, and she taught only 2 of us by our senior year, and we just kept going. And that was how I figured out that was my passion. The other thing was I actually visited my major advisor. I made Sabina my major advisor, by the way. She was not assigned to me. I was assigned someone in Asian languages originally. You need to find an advisor with whom you can communicate in your field, who will help you. And even if they aren't your official advisor, find a professor who inspires you, who when he or she talks, you say to yourself, my gosh, I wonder if I could be like that person. If you can find that person, talk to that person. Also, pick the right classes. Get some help every semester. Don't do it in the dark. And very importantly, visit office hours, because we do hold them once in a while. And we do like to help you because we want you to succeed. We also would really love it if you'd buy or rent your books, because it's very hard to succeed when you don't own the books. You also are theoretically spending 40 to 50 hours a week studying. That is a lot. And somehow you should get 8 hours of sleep at your age. And you aren't, are you? Yeah. And you need to celebrate your success. Celebrating your success can, of course, be going out with your family, having a nice dinner. But I would also argue that if someone invites you to an honor society in your field or a national honor society, join it. Because these societies stand for integrity, like that banner says. They indicate that you're the kind of person who really cares about higher learning and about integrity. One thing that all of you can do, even if you think you aren't the person who can do it, you can. You need to look out for research opportunities. They can come in the form of working in labs on campus, helping a professor with a project. Ask a professor you respect, can I help you with something? Can I go get some books for you? Anything to get your foot in the door. If your field offers internships or service learning is available anywhere, do it. It will transform your outlook. And if you can, construct a project. It's so funny because there were no senior honors projects or anything in my field when I was an undergraduate. But because I had this mentor, Sabina, I went to her and I said, what should I do? And she said, keep doing what you love doing, but wouldn't it be nice to have a conference? And she was the one who seeded in my mind that we should throw a whole conference about late antiquity, and we invited 2 scholars from overseas, and we raised all the money. It's what you guys have done. It's what the USU and student involvement have done. You create something out of nothing because you get a good idea, and it will inspire you. This is the kind of thing that becomes the basis of your future success. And when you take advantage of the research advantages and other opportunities on campus, you have opportunities here that don't exist at large research universities, because at those schools, they are so worried about their graduate students in doctoral programs that oftentimes they overlook the undergraduates. Instead, here at Fresno State, you can get undergraduate research grants from the Dean of Undergraduate Studies, and you can consequently do a great deal with that support. And prepare yourself for either graduate school or for employment. And look at what Dr. Gao has done in physics. Since 2007, we are the only CSU campus that has students going to the ATLAS experiment of the Large Hadron Collider at CERN near Geneva, Switzerland. This is the team, this whole group of scholars, and there are many, many hundreds of these scholars. But here are Fresno State students involved in this. They were one piece in the puzzle of discovering the Higgs boson on Independence Day last year. That's what you can do here. Those kinds of opportunities are here. Lucid Salgado was a student who was told in high school, you can't be an honor student. And she came to Fresno State, and she found her passion was mass comm and journalism. And because she loved it so much, she joined the Arts and Humanities Honors Program, and she created Motivate out of whole cloth as her project. And it was an amazing celebration of a passion for success amongst Hispanic students. And she told the news, I feel that every single person has the capacity to accomplish anything. It's just that you have to make sacrifices, and you have to do whatever it takes to get that done. No one can say it better, not even Socrates. And when you do it, and much less boring too, when you do what she says, you can find yourselves finding jobs because you love what you do, and you can go to graduate school, as Lucid Ito plans to do. And Fresno State students have gone to the best graduate programs in the country in many fields, not just a couple. And that's what all of you can aspire to. You have to do your best, because he wasn't supposed to win. And in my mind, winning is crossing the finish line and doing it with vim and vigor, doing it like you mean it. See. I heard it. I heard it. Yes, courage. All of those were good, by the way. I'm not trying to downplay your choices. But courage matters. All that passion and achievement, it's not enough, because what you have to do is test yourself and take a risk. You need to do things that take you beyond your comfort zone. We normally think of courage as perhaps a military value, as something that you display when you're on the battlefield, or when you tell your story as a vet, as the War Veterans Project here at Fresno State under Dr. Gary Rice allows students to learn about. You have these opportunities at Fresno State to tap into courage in that manner. But there's so many other less celebrated ways, such as taking a harder course of study than you ever imagined, like nursing, which is beastly. Joining an organization like a Greek organization where it's really hard to get out of your shell and show yourself to others and be their sister. That really takes guts. And look at Aldi. Oh, my Lord, she's jumped out of an airplane. I don't recommend that, but I saw it on Facebook, and so I took it. Please don't do that. Okay. The thing that's available to everyone is study abroad. Study abroad allows you to leave the Valley, to leave the United States, and go somewhere extraordinary. You can go on CSU international programs. You can go on USAC. We have a new arrangement with the campus in Rome. There are mini semesters through a variety of programs on campus and departmental programs as well. You can visit Family Food Sciences 119 to learn more. Department programs, such as Armenian Studies. Look at all of them in 2011. Okay, this is a CSU international program in Mexico. It's hard to believe they study, but I believe they do. There's Will in Prague, the Czech Republic. There's students doing archaeology in Rome. You can do this through Fresno State now. There's Tristan in Berlin, in Germany. He studied there with the Craig School. And there's a mini semester with the College of Arts and Humanities that takes you to London, and you can visit Stonehenge as well. And you can be in the drizzly rain, but that's what it's about in England, right? You live with the people, you eat their food, you learn, hopefully, their language if you're there long enough, and it transforms you. Do you like the globe, by the way? If you don't know where you want to go, you can take the globe and go like this, and you can end up choosing North America, which would be boring. Russia would not, Kazakhstan would not be a good choice. I had a Greek student at Stanford many years ago who said to me, I've always wanted to see the Silk Route. And I said, okay, Ben, go check it out when you graduate. Bad idea. He went to the Silk Route, but he ended up in Uzbekistan in jail. And he broke out of jail and stole a horse to get away. Don't do that. I got a postcard about it. Don't do that. Do something good for other people. Look at Walid Hamoud. He received a Rotary International Scholarship, went to South Africa, and helped set up this wonderful, or helped continue with the setting up of this wonderful home for children who live on the streets. It was called Sinethemba. And if you want to learn more, you can contact him through me about how you might help. There's Raven Kapan in Jordan. Raven comes from the Central Valley. She is also a Renaissance scholar, and she earned an extremely prestigious scholarship which is offered to those who might offer service to the United States government when they're done. She would like to become an international humanitarian. You can apply to that program. I'm going to give you a hint. Jan and Bud Richter Center. Yes. Good. I like Eureka more. Okay, this is my pitch. You're all here tonight because you care enough about being in large places with others. You should join organizations. ASI, you can represent your college or other entities on campus, like these guys this year. You can join the USU board. You can get involved in setting up vintage days. You can be a campus ambassador. You can do a lot on this campus. That's last year, not this year, wrong dates. River Tree. You can do a lot of environmental work on this campus. You can take political science classes, or you can simply join and go do it. You can do the work on the San Joaquin that cleans tons of tires and other debris out of the river every year so that it flows more easily, so that we have a beautiful river that will eventually become the correct habitat again. And you can join Los Danzantes. You can become a member of anything when you check it out. So take advantage. There's a panoply of opportunities on this campus. You don't have to stay with the same club. You also should show school spirit. It's really important. You should go support people who are playing amazing basketball right now. Have you been to see them? They're incredible. That's another thing I would have loved to do, but I'm not good enough. I loved basketball in high school, and I used to play with the team when I was an undergrad on Sundays, because that's when they would allow me to go and play sort of like a bumper in the road. But these women are amazing. Go to their games. Check it out. The place is rather empty right now. It shouldn't be. And you should go to the farm market, because we have this amazing bounty, and when the corn comes in, the people come out of the woodwork. Don't go then. But most importantly, you have a pantry right off campus that needs your help every Friday and Saturday. They need help with packing the bags of food, distributing the food. They need help with funding for it, and you can all participate in that. The Jan and Bud Richter Center has really helped promote this kind of community service, and she pledges to volunteer more often. And look at what ASI did last winter when they put up that huge Kaboom playground at El Dorado Park. That was amazing. And that's what all of you can participate in over the next couple years that you're here at Fresno State. We've contributed over 1 million hours a year, which is pretty darn remarkable. One of us, Daniel Ward, has received a national award from Campus Compact, which was an organization founded in 1985 in order to promote service on campuses where they didn't see enough students participating. And he received that national award, and he's there with his brothers at the pantry on a Friday packing food. You can also, I'm almost begging you, join the March for Babies on April 20th. We have teams set up for Fresno State. You can start one in your department amongst your friends or in your clubs. And we're going to march at Woodward Park on April 20th. Why does this matter? Because this little girl right here, Mackenzie, was born really early. And what the March of Dimes does is that it gives money towards research to figure out why mothers give birth too early to prevent prematurity, which will, in fact, put a huge dent in infant mortality. And infant mortality is predominantly caused by prematurity in the United States and around the world. And therefore, if we do this now, we will make a difference, possibly even in your own family. How many of you actually stop and read the Peace Garden quotes? You see the statues, you walk to class, you kind of ignore them. But these really are profound people, obviously, such as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Gandhi and Jane Addams and Cesar Chavez. All of them matter. Gandhi said the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. See, Socrates said you need to find yourself, figure out your skills. But what he's saying is that part of this, Gandhi is saying, is that you need to help others. And when you help others, you're going to become the best you. You're going to discover yourself. Interestingly, the original motto of Fresno State, Luca Maquipe Redas, receive the light so that you may give back, is really, really fitting for this campus, in part because of the giving back. The big picture, though, is what you're going to do with all of this, because you don't stay at Fresno State forever. You go to graduation, hopefully, and then you have to figure out what to do afterwards. And that's kind of scary, but at the same time, the world's your oyster if you take advantage of all the opportunities now. If you figure out yourself now, not 10 years from now, and believe me, you're going to figure yourself out anyway, 10 years from now, but you will get closer to being happier if you find your passion. If you achieve something while you're here, get much better at what you originally thought you could do. If you show courage, if you don't just stay in a rut, if you actually step out of your comfort zone and get yourself engaged in this community, whether it's Fresno State or the rest of Fresno itself. I was reading Governor Brown's speech, the State of the State address, because I read a blurb in the Fresno Bee, and it sounded interesting, but when I read the actual speech, I was astonished because it looked like the new motto of Fresno State. Discovery, diversity, distinction. It's almost as if he had read our motto. Because he says about the state of California, this Eureka State, this state of discovery, what is this but the most diverse, creative, and longest-standing mass migration in the history of the world? All of us here tonight are part of that. That's California. The rest of the country looks to us, not for what's conventional, but for what is necessary. Necessary to keep faith with our courageous forebears. Whoever came here from somewhere else, it took a lot of courage to leave home. All of us benefit from their courage. What we've done together and what we must do in the coming years is big, but it pales in comparison to the indomitable courage of those who discovered and each decade thereafter built a more abundant California. That's why you go to Fresno State. That's what we're here for. It's not just for you. So in a way, Socrates kind of disappoints because he keeps it within the bounds of Euthydemus discovering himself. I would say that what you're doing here is bigger. And if you keep that passion, and if you achieve things, and if you show courage and you get engaged, you can change things for the better. You can make California better, which is why the state invested in you, in this education. And when you look at tonight, this was part of that story of courage and obviously engagement, because it's student involvement who set it all up. And I'm very grateful to all of them who have suddenly run away. But I'm very grateful to you because what you've done is what other organizations have just talked about it. They've talked about it, you did it. And I look forward to the future talks, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And I just wondered if anyone had any questions. Real fast. I don't want to prolong the evening. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts? That's enough.